Chapter 47-36. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change as she continued to smile. You're from the God realm and you may have lived for tens of thousands of years. I'm just a little lass from the Nirvana realm. Isn't it normal that I can't kill you? She paused for a moment, and her smile became nasty. On the other hand, you. As a big shot of the God realm, you are helpless against a little girl from the Nirvana realm like me. Should I laugh at your incompetence, or should I laugh at your incompetence? Trying to provoke her with sarcasm? Ha! Yiqing Luo scoffed softly, as a cold glint flickered in her long and narrow eyes. It was rare for the person behind the dark palace to appear personally. How could she let the people behind the scenes of the Nether Palace leave so easily? Seeing that the situation isn't right, you run away with your tail between your legs. The young girl's mocking laughter was filled with ridicule. The God world is only so-so. The expression of Gu Jingyu became increasingly gloomy. Looking at Yiqing Luo's gaze, it was filled with viciousness. However, he quickly restrained himself. Her quiet and cold eyes were like a treacherous and cold eerie color. Yiqing Luo, you don't need to use words to provoke me. Gu Jingyu sneered, now is just the beginning. Next is the real beginning of the game. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly. Her long and narrow eyes were cold and gloomy. She moved her hand, and the glowing fan, which was as blazing as fire, spun on her fingertips, giving off a dazzling light. Boundless dark force was released from his body. She did not hesitate in the slightest. He leaped and attacked Gu Jingyu. But I don't intend to give you the chance to continue playing. The girl's cold voice revealed a hint of ruthlessness. The power of the divine artifact and the dark force intertwined. The young girl's aura seemed to be able to destroy heaven and earth. Gu Jingyu was slightly stunned. The young girl's aura was like a rainbow, and her profound waves were sharp and fierce. The attack and speed caused him to frown and dodge to the side. At the bottom of his heart, he was extremely shocked by this earth-shattering change of the young girl. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo's adaptability was also this strong. He had just leveled up not long ago. He had almost overloaded his body due to the advancement of his profound strength. At that moment, he had fused that power with his body. Moreover, he was extremely proficient in using it. On top of that, the power of the divine artifact on her body had been strengthened. No matter how unwilling Gu Jingyu was to admit it. They had to admit it. The current Yiqing Luo, indeed, he was strong enough to fight with him. Yiqing Luo's attacks became even more ferocious. It was obvious that he was going all out to subdue the person behind the Palace of Darkness. Gu Jingyu wanted to leave, but Yiqing Luo was clinging onto him tightly, totally not giving him a chance to leave. Two figures were fighting each other in the dense forest. The sky was dark. He could not see it clearly at all. Profound lights flickered as a majestic aura spread across the battlefield. The commotion caused by the battle between the two sides naturally attracted the attention of the group of people on the battlefield nearby. When Yiqing Luo and Gu Jingyu were crossing hands on the battlefield. With the appearance of the witchcraft family, Venerable Wu had no room to retaliate. Or perhaps, she had no intention of resisting. Back then, when she was chased out of the witchcraft family, she kept saying how much she hated the witchcraft family. But after so many years, after seeing the witchcraft family for real, how could she really maintain her pride? When the witchcraft family's people used the iron chains to restrain Venerable Wu, he had no intention of struggling or resisting. This book came from Chapter 47-37. It was only when he was taken away by the people from the voodoo family that he stopped in his tracks and said, "Can you bring Che back with you?" The people from the witchcraft family looked at the girl in Miao Xuanxuan's hand and nodded. Miao Xianxian dragged her towards the world group's direction as her delicate little face was filled with seriousness. "You can't, this is someone whom Sister Qing Luo entrusted to me, I must take good care of her." "Young Miss Miao." The woman from the witchcraft family said calmly, "This lady is from the witchcraft family." No matter what she does, the witchcraft family will give a fair judgment. Miao Xuanxuan's tiny body stood in front of Wu Che. Sister Qing Luo has handed him over to me, so I will take good care of him. If you insist on snatching him from my hands, then you can only do it yourself. Snatch him by force. The expression of the woman from the witchcraft family changed slightly, but her tone was still rather gentle. Young Miss Miao, if your friend has any conflict with the witchcraft family, the witchcraft family will take responsibility. She paused and continued, but, right now, these two people are people who were expelled from the witchcraft family, and now they are related to the culprit behind the war between the two worlds, so, no. Miao Xianxian shook her head persistently. Everything, wait for Sister Qing Luo to come back and tell her yourself. Witchcraft family, an unfriendly voice came from behind Miao Xianxian. A woman in a light blue dress gently placed her slender hand on Miao Xuanxuan's shoulder and pulled both Miao Xianxian and Wu Che behind her. The woman looked gentle and harmless. However, her bright eyes were domineering and unreasonable. Does the witchcraft aristocratic family think that this matter can be resolved so easily? Miao Xianxian glanced at the woman beside her. She knew that this woman was called Yan Xiaoyi. He was a member of Sister Qing Luo's mercenary group and had a good relationship with her. Even if they hadn't interacted much in the past. Perhaps they knew each other from their previous lives. Miao Xianxian was not disgusted by the intimacy of a woman. The witchcraft family frowned slightly. Miss, what do you mean? Yan Xiaoyi scoffed. This grandfather and grandson pair have done so many heinous things with the Palace of Gloomy Shadows. You want to take them away just like that? How are we going to explain this to those profound practitioners who died because of them? The woman's voice was clearly not loud. His tone was full of questions. His aura was very oppressive. Also, Yan Xiaoyi's eyes slightly darkened. His eyes seemed to be covered with a thick layer of coldness. In this battle between the heaven and earth realms, how many profound practitioners were injured by the witchcraft insects refined by Elder Wu using the forbidden witchcraft insect? And our brothers in the world group. When the regiment commander was so young, he was poisoned with the heart-devouring goo. He had become a puppet of the Palace of Darkness, standing on the opposite side of them. And Zi Qing, earlier on, Zi Qing had nearly injured the brothers of the world group. All of this was caused by old Wu. What qualifications did the people of the witchcraft family have to snatch people from their hands? When Yan Xiaoyi looked up again, the corners of her mouth curled into a mocking sneer. So, since the people from the Wu Gu family have acknowledged the identity of Elder Wu and Wu Gu, then, don't you plan to clean up the mess they created? Not only there the world group. There were also quite a number of witchcraft Gu that had already scurried towards the cities in the Earth domain. Apart from the Miaogu aristocratic family, only the witchcraft aristocratic family could help. This book comes from Chapter 4738. The few people from the witchcraft family's expressions didn't change. But looking at the battlefield, the stench of the witchcraft insects and the thick stench of blood made one feel nauseous. They knew very well. What did old Wu use the witchcraft insects to do? Miao Xianxian took the chance and said, Miaogu family informed the witchcraft family about this matter because only you can solve this matter. The few people from the witchcraft family remained silent for a moment. Before they could open their mouths, they heard the world group's side giving out a cry of shock. Quickly look over there. Everyone looked towards the direction of the voice. Not far from the battlefield, there was a deafening explosion of profound light. Yan Xiaoyi's expression congealed. Not good. Earlier Qing Luo went over there. Did something happen? The world group exchanged glances. Following that, they quickly chased towards the direction of the dense forest. After a series of intimidating exchanges of profound energy, Yi Zichen's expression changed drastically. Gu Jingyu's expression turned increasingly grave. At this moment, not only were they shocked by Yi Qing Luo's acceptance towards profound energy cultivation, they were even more shocked that the young lady could use the god relic's energy so flexibly. Originally indifferent, she was gradually forced to be more serious. Both their palms collided. They retreated in unison. The entire forest's trees were uprooted as the sky was filled with dust and soil. Yiqing Luo stabilized her footsteps as the glower flame fan on her fingertips spun one round in her palm. Gu Jingyu also stopped his retreating footsteps as he slightly raised his eyes to look at her. In the depths of his eyes, there was a sinister aura that could not be seen clearly. Do you think that by killing me, you will be able to save that little blue dragon of yours? He sneered in disdain as he casually brushed away the fallen leaves on his body from the battle with Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's actions took a pause as her expression turned stern. Looks like your energy has been exhausted? Gu Jingyu's brows sunk slightly as a vicious aura grew. Yiqing Luo naturally didn't miss out on this detail. Her slender eyes lifted up, and as the glint flickered, her lips curled into a bloodthirsty sneer. His expression had already explained everything. The appearance of the mastermind from the secluded palace had always made Yiqing Luo suspicious. The mastermind from the secluded palace would basically not appear personally. But this time, they actually borrowed Gu Jingyu's body. This clearly meant that the person behind the scenes of the dark secluded palace was affected or had problems with his body. Furthermore, the way the mastermind of the Dark Ghost Palace used Gu Jingyu's body would greatly affect the mastermind of the Dark Ghost Palace. For example, the body is out of control. Furthermore, his own strength was not stable. After all, the mastermind of the Gloomy Palace did not possess Gu Jinyu's body through other mediums or consciousness. At this moment, it was the best way to control the people behind the Dark Palace. Even if it was just a wisp of consciousness or some other kind of power. That was very possible. Following this power, he had found the body of the person behind the scenes of the Dark Palace. This was the best time to destroy the person behind the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly as her figure once again headed towards the direction of Gu Jingyu. Her slender white fingers streaked across the azure dew bracelet on her wrist. There was a cold glint in his eyes. The azure dew bracelet began to glow with a scorching red light. A strand of profound energy was injected into Yiqing Luo's glabella. Yiqing Luo's profound energy suddenly exploded. His figure quickly approached Gu Jingyu. The instantaneous attack was so swift that no one could react in time. Gu Jingyu was just about to regain his senses. The young lady's icy cold fingers had already locked onto his neck. This book came from Chapter 4740. After the battle, he heaved a sigh of relief. The Brothers of the World group could finally crack a few jokes. Yiqing Luo unhappily pushed Gu Jingyu, who was leaning on her, towards Qiao Jin's side. Quickly catch him. Qiao Jin joked, but his body was honest. He walked over and took Gu Jingyu. The group of powerhouses following behind the World group had a huge change in expression when they saw Gu Jingyu. Emperor Madam, he is the Palace Lord of Gloomy Palace. He must be handed over to City Lord Xiao to be executed. The people of the major forces looked at Gu Jingyu with murderous eyes. It was as if he wanted to tear him into pieces. How could he not be angry? To the profound practitioners of the Earth realm, Gu Jingyu was the main culprit who almost caused the land to be destroyed. Because of Gu Jingyu, they had lost their families, comrades, and friends. If it wasn't for the fact that Yiqing Luo's attitude towards Gu Jingyu was unclear. He was afraid that the people from the major forces would have already rushed forward and torn Gu Jingyu into pieces. Madam, this person is the culprit who harmed our realm and reduced it to its current state. We must hand him over to City Lord Xiao to give everyone an explanation. He killed so many of our brothers. Also, the war between the heaven and earth realms was started by him. The people of the major forces were very excited. Their eyes were bloodshot. The World group immediately blocked in front of Yiqing Luo. His expression was cold as he looked at the people from the major forces with vigilance. Hearing the crowd raising their arms and cheering, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change much. She just leaned against a tree and had no intention of handing Gu Jingyu over. She said in a faint voice, I caught him. Do you think I can hand him over just because you say so? If you're so capable, why don't you catch them yourself? The people of the major forces immediately choked on their words. The young girl tilted her head, her long and narrow eyes slightly curved, revealing a bit of coldness. I caught him, how I want to deal with him is my business. She looked towards the world group and waved her hand. Let's go back to the Qiao residence. She stood up and was about to walk forward. As soon as he exerted force on his feet, a wave of dizziness surged into his head. Yiqing Luo only felt her vision turning black. He lost consciousness uncontrollably. Before he fainted, Yiqing Luo's only thought was, Motherf ****. It was a rare chance for him to act tough, but before he could finish, he had already collapsed. Did she not care about her pride? By the time Yiqing Luo opened her eyes again, she was already in the Qiao mansion, on her bed. Yan Xiaoyi stood guard at the side. Hearing the commotion, he immediately stood up and looked over. Seeing that Yiqing Luo had indeed opened her eyes, she brought over a cup of water and passed it to the young lady. Bloodbone Barbaric King had come over to take a look and you're fine. It's just that your profound energy and physical strength had been overdrawn, resulting in your body not being able to take it, so you collapsed. Yan Xiaoyi's tone was indifferent. However, he could hear the displeasure in her voice. Yiqing Luo drank a glass of water and her throat felt slightly better. She put on a smile and said softly, I know I shouldn't force myself. I was wrong, okay? You're not wrong. How could you be wrong? Yan Xiaoyi put down the cup and sneered, it's not the first time you've done this. Anyway, the Overlord isn't here and none of us can control you. Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Her fair little hand held Yan Xiaoyi's hand and held it gently in her palm. Under that kind of situation, I had no other choice. Moreover, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to face Gu Jingyu. Chapter 47-41. She drooped her eyelids. Her curly eyelashes were thick and long, casting a fan-shaped shadow on her eyelids. Looking at Yiqing Luo in this state, Yan Xiaoyi was feeling angry. She couldn't say anything. She held Yiqing Luo's hand and sat by the bedside. Do you know how dangerous it is for you to do this? You're lucky that your profound energy didn't burst out and explode to your death. Yiqing Luo's other hand pinched Yan Xiaoyi's face. You know, no matter what decision I make, I will absolutely not do it on impulse. I don't want to die. The anger in Yan Xiaoyi's heart completely dissipated from her pinching. She grabbed the hand on her face and brushed it away. Don't lie down since you're awake. If you're any later, I'm afraid young sect master Gu won't be able to survive. Yiqing Luo's smiling brows instantly congealed. Those people still want to make an issue out of Gu Jingyu? Previously, in the forest of the battlefield, she had already made her words very clear. Those people actually had the audacity to have designs on Gu Jingyu? He is after all the palace lord of secluded palace on the surface. In everyone's eyes, he is the real culprit who started this war. Yan Xiaoyi explained, in this war, both sides suffered heavy losses. It can be said that in the next 50 years, the two realms will not have the ability to raise their battle flags. To everyone, Gu Jingyu was the enemy who killed their parents and relatives. He was the one who destroyed their family. How could they possibly dispel their hatred just because of a few sentences from Yiqing Luo? Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk. How long have I been unconscious for? Where is Gu Jingyu? Not long, just 1 day and 1 night. Yan Xiaoyi replied, now that City Lord Xiao is protecting Gu Jingyu, no one will act recklessly at this critical juncture, but... She paused for a moment. The heaven and earth realms war had been burning for several days and because of a common goal, they stopped fighting. So, City Lord Xiao has set up a simple banquet in Xiao residence to discuss with everyone regarding this war. Speaking of this, Yan Xiaoyi's brows creased slightly. I reckon those people will ask City Lord Xiao for young sect master Gu during the banquet. Yiqing Luo lifted the blanket and got off the bed. Let's go take a look. This was a great war between the heaven and earth world. It started inexplicably. Now, it had come to an inexplicable end. All the profounders and powers were still in a dazed state even when they sat face to face. Just a moment ago, both sides were fighting to the death. The next moment, they were sitting face to face, drinking and chatting. This change really made it hard for people to keep up with it. I'm afraid, this was the first time something like this had happened since ancient times, right? In the garden behind the Qiao mansion, there was an outdoor banquet. The representatives of the major forces in the world filled the entire banquet. At a glance, there were at least 50 people. The entire garden was in an uproar as people discussed spiritedly. The people of the major forces were chatting with each other about the upcoming war. It could be considered harmonious. After 3 rounds of drinking, City Lord Xiao, although the palace master of the Palace of Darkness is Lady D's captive, we are the ones who have a deep grudge against the Palace of Darkness. Someone from the Heaven Realm said with an unfriendly expression. City Lord Xiao, please hand over the Palace Master of Secluded Darkness Palace to us. As soon as he said that, the noisy and enthusiastic banquet instantly quietened down. All of them looked towards City Lord Xiao, as though they were trying to probe his expression after he heard this sentence. Chapter 47-42. City Lord Xiao slowly put down the wine cup in his hand as his dignified face sunk slightly. That pair of eyes which had been through the vicissitudes of life was extremely sharp. Just one look was enough to make the atmosphere of the banquet turn heavy. Even the various powerhouses in Heaven Realm kept quiet as they were stunned by this gaze. The Palace Lord of the Secluded Palace is not in my hands. City Lord Xiao opened his mouth and his voice was cold and dignified as he said each word. As for the transactions and topics regarding the war between the 2 realms, if I can help, I will definitely do so. But his gaze slowly swept past those people who were jeering as he repeated, but if all of you want the Palace Lord of the Secluded Palace, there's nothing I can do. Gu Jingyu was brought away by that bunch of youngsters from the World Group. All these were actually very clear to everyone present. They were also very clear that if those youngsters didn't have Yiqing Luo's orders, they would absolutely not hand Gu Jingyu over. Could it be that they could snatch him? It was impossible to snatch him away. During the war between the 2 realms, they had all witnessed that these seemingly young youngsters were actually very powerful. If they had to snatch him away, not only would they suffer heavy losses, they would also publicly become enemies with Imperial Madam. They must be silly to do such a stupid thing. Hence, someone suggested, Imperial Madam and City Lord Xiao are on good terms. If City Lord Xiao were to speak to Imperial Madam, I believe Imperial Madam would definitely hand over the Palace Lord of the Secluded Palace. These words were indeed a little too forceful. But other than this, they had no other way. City Lord Xiao couldn't help but laughed when he heard that. That solemn and dignified face, even though he was smiling, it was filled with a terrifying murderous aura. What a good plan you all have, to let me be the one to stand out and serve you. He slammed the table fiercely as he stood up. This City Lord sincerely invited Imperial Madam over to help. After Imperial Madam resolved the war between the Heaven and Earth 2 realms, now you want this City Lord to repay kindness with enmity and be ungrateful? This slap on the table shook the entire banquet as it instantly turned silent. Everyone's gazes congregated onto City Lord Xiao. Silence for a while. The people from the Heaven Realm said with a dark expression, City Lord Xiao, even if that's the case, the crime of the Palace Master of Secluded Darkness Palace is an undeniable fact. Now that we are in the land, if we want an explanation, we naturally have to ask you, the person in charge of the land. This person's voice was firm and powerful. His tone was also a little sinister. It was as if he was suppressing too much anger. City Lord Xiao looked over. He clashed with that person. He was about to speak. Suddenly, a clear voice came from afar. If you want an explanation, just look for me. Why make things difficult for City Lord Xiao? The girl's voice was clear and pleasing to the ears. It was very soft, but it easily suppressed all the voices in the hall. Outside the garden, a girl in a fiery red dress slowly walked over. The girl's black hair was not tied up, so it casually and lazily scattered behind her, like a waterfall pouring down in torrents. But even with such a simple outfit, amidst the flowers, it was still dazzling, causing everything around it to lose its splendor. Yiqing Luo slowly walked towards that person from Heaven Realm. Her footsteps were steady and calm, like a lotus. Step by step, it was like a heavy beating drum, pounding on that person's heart from Heaven Realm. Under this oppressive aura, that person subconsciously took 2 steps back. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up as her long and narrow eyes rose. Whatever you need me to explain, just tell me. She casually brushed her sleeves. Exquisite side profile, noble and elegant, her temperament was out of this world. TXT 2016 website, over 100,000, mobile phone can directly download TXT. Chapter 47-43. The person is in my hands. Yiqing Luo continued calmly, there's no use asking City Lord Xiao, why don't you ask me directly? The man from the Heaven Realm paled slightly, but he seemed to have thought of something. He clenched his fists tightly and said word by word, then, Madam Emperor, please hand over the palace lord of the secluded palace. No. The girl's answer was straightforward and decisive. The expression of the person from the Heaven Domain changed again. Our Heaven Domain has lost many elites, relatives, and comrades because of the Palace of Seclusion. It is the same for the Land Domain. Shouldn't Tenyu Palace give us an explanation? Are you going to protect Tenyu Palace? His voice paused slightly. His eyes became much sharper as he said word by word, or perhaps you and the Palace of Gloomy Shadows were originally in cahoots. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly as her expression didn't change as she smiled. What have those losses got to do with me? Back then, didn't you choose to join the Ren family and attack the land because of the ambitions of the Netherworld Palace? This is your own choice. Who can you blame? You chose war, so don't blame the war for causing you to lose your loved ones or comrades. This is your own choice, so you should pay the price for your choice. The girl's voice carried a bit of ridicule. Just because I saved all of you, I have to bear the consequences of your choices? Why? She questioned him word by word. Soon after, he sneered and said, just because your faces are big? The people from Heaven Realm were so humiliated by Yiqing Luo's words that they couldn't say a single word. She was angry, annoyed, and embarrassed. But when he met the young girl's eyes, which were as clear as water, he didn't even dare to say a word. Yiqing Luo's eyes were curved, obviously smiling. However, the words that came out of his mouth were incomparably sinister. I have no obligation to care about your feelings. The palace master of the secluded Darkness Palace was captured by me. How you want to deal with him is my problem. If you don't like it, you can ask me with your strength. That arrogant and confident look. It was as if it was not afraid of anything in the world. He also did not care that the people of the Heaven Realm would join forces to counterattack. Counterattack my ass. In that great battle, the people from the Palace of Gloomy Darkness came one after another. Only Yiqing Luo was able to go against the secluded palace. They can snatch things from Yiqing Luo. Not to mention it was said that within Yiqing Luo's body, there was a divine phoenix profound jade heart. That's a talent that's out of the ordinary. The people from the Heaven Realm could only grit their teeth and did not speak again. Yiqing Luo's appearance lowered the atmosphere of the banquet by another degree. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about everyone's feelings. She walked towards the World Group's position. Because the World Group's performance in this battle was extremely outstanding. Although he wasn't too interested in this kind of banquet. But for Qiao Yinyan's sake. There were also 20 to 30 people here. Qiao Jin and Mo Yuing were the leaders. It was about Gu Jingyu. At the banquet, no one dared to mention it again. Yiqing Luo and City Lord Xiao exchanged a few words and changed the topic. The people from the Earth Domain calmed down the atmosphere again. In this battle, the Earth Realm had also suffered great losses. However, compared to Heaven Realm, this time, it could be said that the Earth Domain had undergone a qualitative change. Between the Earth Realm and Heaven Realm, They were originally separated by tens of thousands of miles. And this battle caused the status of the Earth realm to soar. It could almost be said that it was on par with the Heaven realm. Yiqing Luo ignored everyone's compliments. Sitting on her own seat, she chatted with the Brothers of the World group. This chapter end viewing starting event Zoe new chapter section please arrive Tang Ku shop, mobile address. However, the voodoo insects did not retreat just because they left the battlefield. Instead, they quickly rushed towards the gates of the Earth realm. The voodoo bugs. Could it be that it wanted to swallow the entire land? Every profound practitioner's heart skipped a beat. Without me, these voodoo insects would have destroyed the entire Earth domain. Venerable Voodoo had obviously given up. If it wasn't for me, that little blue dragon would definitely die. Yiqing Luo, you don't have the right to negotiate with me. Let go of Che, otherwise, she didn't finish her sentence. The terrified screams of the people outside the battlefield broke the somber atmosphere of the battlefield. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes squinted slightly as her pink lips curled into a ridiculing cold arc. But, you're even less qualified to threaten me. This chapter end viewing starting event Zoe new chapter section please arrive Tang Ku shop, mobile address. Chapter 47-45. It was an aggressive stance. Obviously, no one in the Qiao estate could stop that wave of energy from approaching. Everyone present couldn't help but hold their breaths in concentration. What kind of daring person dared to come to the Qiao Manor at this time to find trouble? Bang! A deafening explosion resounded throughout the entire back garden. Shortly after, a dozen white-robed figures flew over in a grandiose manner. Each of them held a silver basin in their hands. When that group of people stood in the center of the banquet, everyone was extremely shocked. It's people from the Underworld Palace. Why are those lunatics from Underworld Palace here? Don't they not care about the affairs of the world? Why did you suddenly come to the Qiao residence? From the looks of it, I'm afraid that the Qiao mansion has done something to offend the Hell Palace, right? Those lunatics from the Underworld Palace don't care when or where. If you offend them, they'll bite you like mad dogs. Shoo, keep your voice down. Are you afraid that they won't bite you to death? The crowd discussed among themselves as they looked at the dozen or so old men in front of them. Their expressions were strange and inquisitive. He did not understand the purpose of this group of lunatics coming to the Qiao residence. Led by Old Lai, the people from the Underworld Palace looked around. When his line of sight fell on a certain place. Following that, they charged towards the world group in an orderly manner as they swarmed forward. You're here to seek revenge on the Imperial Madam? The person from the Heaven realm who had been bullied by Yiqing Luo earlier couldn't help but voiced out. The gaze he shot towards Yiqing Luo was filled with resentment and cold ridicule. Imperial Madam has quite a lot of personal enmity. Because of your personal enmity, it has swept away all of our excitement. The man sighed again and glanced in the direction of City Lord Xiao. This is City Lord Xiao's mansion. The people from the Underworld Palace are simply looking down on City Lord Xiao by barging in like this. That person's words sounded like mockery. But in reality, he was trying to sow discord. In an attempt to incite everyone present to dislike Yiqing Luo. He also wanted to use City Lord Xiao as a hostage. As for the reputation of the Hell Palace, as people from the Heaven realm, they had heard of it before. Those who were targeted by this group of lunatics basically had a 90% chance of dying. Yiqing Luo had offended them. Even if the D Zun came personally, this group of lunatics might not even give him face. Thinking of this, the person from the heavenly realm revealed a pleased expression. Madam, this is your personal vendetta. You should settle it yourself. Don't drag us into it. The man was still fanning the flames. Bang! A tyrannical Xian wave rushed over. The person who didn't expect that someone would dare to make a move at the Qiao residence's banquet couldn't avoid it in time. He was struck by the Xian wave and took 2 steps back, falling onto the ground like a dog eating mud. Shut up. The old man from the underworld palace glared at him fiercely. Did your daddy talk to you? Stop farting. Do you think I won't tear your mouth off? Those arrogant and vulgar words. It was definitely a madman from the Hell Palace. The man from the Heaven Realm felt embarrassed to be treated like this in front of everyone. Just as he was about to explode, they saw the group of old men who were called lunatics, the group of old men who looked at the people of the Heaven Realm with fiendish expressions. Their faces were full of smiles as they looked at Yiqing Luo. The leader passed the silver basin in his hands to Yiqing Luo. Madam, take a look at this. What is this? That look was as though he was presenting a treasure, waiting for praise. The group of people from the Heaven Realm looked at the people from the Hell Palace in astonishment, unable to believe their own eyes. Chapter 47-46. According to the rumors, wasn't the Underworld Palace a bunch of lunatics who didn't recognize even their own kin? They were proud and arrogant. In the past, many large forces had tried to rope them in. All of them had their heads blown off. Even if he wanted their help, he was also kicked out of the door. They were a bunch of unreasonable lunatics. But this bunch of lunatics was actually being so kind to a young girl. In fact, it could be said that he was fawning over her. Curry favor? It was impossible for this word to appear in the mouth of a madman from the Underworld Palace. But now, it was right in front of them. The people from the Heaven Realm were extremely shocked. However, the people from the Earth Realm were extremely calm. Most people in the Earth domain knew that the Emperor Lady had a good relationship with the Hell Palace. When the Emperor's wife first arrived in the Earth domain, he was the Lord of Hell of the Underworld Palace back then. He even worked as a handyman for Pei Sheng, Madame D's friend. They were already used to it, okay? Look at that group of people from the Heaven Realm, they look like they have never seen the world. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly, her eyes sparkled as she gave a faint smile. You think that I don't dare to kill you? She tilted her head, and her gaze slowly fell on Gu Jingyu. Looking at the expression on Gu Jingyu's face, there was a hint of surprise. The girl's smile became even brighter. The person I need is Elder Wu, but the person I'm unhappy with is also Elder Wu. Her faint voice was as clear as a bell. Her fingertips gently caressed Wu Chei's neck. In the next moment, her sharp nails would pierce through Wu Chei's neck. Unfortunately, I can't touch old Wu. Yiqing Luo sighed helplessly, so I can only use you to vent my anger. Yiqing Luo. Elder Wu did not dare to act rashly. His turbid old eyes were filled with panic and unease. Let go of Chei, Yiqing Luo shook her head as her gaze was calm and awe-inspiring. Since Elder Wu had already collaborated with the Palace of Darkness long ago, then you should know the objective of the Palace of Darkness. She smiled and glanced at Wu Chei, whose face was deathly pale. The smile on her lips bloomed like a sweet rose. Bright and flamboyant, it was indescribable. What the Netherworld Palace doesn't like the most is having a weakness. For example, this Palace Master of Dark Abyss Palace. What he hates the most is being tied down. Yiqing Luo tilted her head, her gorgeous face was filled with an innocent expression. Why don't I help you get rid of this burden? As the girl spoke, her eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. There's no need to thank me too much. After all, you've given me so many great gifts. Just treat this as a gift in return. There's no need to thank me. The second half of the sentence. She was still smiling. However, there was not the slightest hint of a smile in her long and narrow eyes. Instead, he slowed down the speed of his words. Every word pierced into one's heart. Old Wu's expression changed as he shouted sternly, "What are you trying to do? Let go of Chei, She leapt up and flew towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo didn't move as she stepped on a pile of gravel. Densely packed witchcraft bugs crawled around her feet, quickly eroding the entire battlefield. Facing Old Wu's swift attack of eagle claws, her smile became even more radiant. The icy coldness in between her brows slowly seeped out. TXT 2016 website, over 100,000, mobile phone can directly download TXT. Chapter 47-47. What are you interested in? They would be able to figure out what they wanted. If it wasn't for this group of people, it would be too weird. Yiqing Luo wanted to poach him over to the world group. However, this group of weird geniuses probably had no choice but to fight with the group of youths in the world group, right? Wow. How did you do it? It's actually developed by you guys to deal with goo? You guys are too strong. Let me see, let me see. The group of youngsters in the world group's eyes lit up as they swiftly rushed towards Yiqing Luo's side, bending over to take a look at the silver basins in the elderly's hands. Old Lai and the others excitedly pointed at the silver basin and began to explain to them the principles and ideas behind making it. Yiqing Luo. All right, she took back her words. It seemed like he could find an opportunity to poach someone from the wall. He had originally planned to let the Miaogu family and the witchcraft family work together to deal with the witchcraft insects that had escaped to the land domain. Now, the people from Underworld Palace had all been dealt with. It was not just a matter of convenience. It also reduced the losses of the land. The appearance of Hell Palace's people must have a close relationship with the world group. This caused the people in the Heaven Realm who still had resentment in their hearts to not dare to say another word. In the end, the people from the Heaven Realm could only endure their anger and discuss with City Lord Xiao the conditions for a ceasefire after the war. In the past, the Heaven would have looked down on this group of people from the earth. Not to mention negotiating terms for a ceasefire with the land domain. But now, they didn't want to admit it, but they had to. The reason why they were able to survive this battle was entirely because of Yiqing Luo's appearance. As for Yiqing Luo, it was because of City Lord Xiao's request, which was why she led the world group to lend a helping hand. Most importantly, in this great battle. In the early stages, the Earth domain had suffered heavy losses. But ever since the world group appeared. Until Yiqing Luo appeared. Then, the Palace of Abyss didn't differentiate between friend and foe. The Heaven Realm's losses were far greater than the Earth Realm's. In addition, the people in the Heaven Realm were already in a state of panic, and all kinds of forces had their own ambitions. The Tenyu Palace and the Ren family had stirred up a mess in the Heaven Realm. If the Earth Realm launched an attack on the Heaven Realm at this time, the Heaven Realm would not be able to survive. He was afraid that the Heaven Realm might not be able to defend itself. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, the World Alliance still decided to temporarily extend an olive branch to the land. Yiqing Luo naturally wouldn't bother about these matters. Yiqing Luo sat for a while and decided to leave to take a look at the witchcraft aristocratic family. Just as he was about to move, suddenly, dark clouds rolled over the horizon. It was as if the sky had been dyed with ink. Dark clouds covered the sky. It made one feel inexplicably depressed. This unforeseen event caused everyone present to raise their heads and look toward the horizon. Generally speaking, the heavenly dew phenomenon definitely meant that something major had happened. Under the rolling dark clouds in the sky, lightning flashed and thunder roared, as if a huge hole had been torn open in the sky. A ball of cold, profound light was faintly discernible. Following that, a row of orderly figures appeared in midair. In the blink of an eye, he was already standing in the center of the banquet. He was clad in black armor and wielded a black spear. His aura was dignified, and a hurricane surged. A powerful aura instantly enveloped the entire space. This caused everyone's faces to turn pale with fright. His gaze was filled with astonishment and shock as he stared at the row of figures that had suddenly appeared. Even the representatives of the large forces in the Heaven Realm couldn't help but feel their hearts thump as they panicked. There were 10 people in front of him, standing ramrod straight. And the profound waves on each of them were so majestic and thick that it made one shocked. TXT 2016 website, over 100,000, mobile phone can directly download TXT 2016. Chapter 47-48. This group of people. The armors and aura on them looked extremely familiar. Yiqing Luo also felt that she had seen them somewhere before. Among the crowd, someone pointed to that direction and exclaimed, "God! God's Guard Team! It's the legendary God's Guard Team!" This exclamation instantly caused the entire banquet to burst into an uproar. Those who didn't know had a dazed look. And those who knew looked at those 10 people in disbelief and couldn't even scream out. God's Guard Team? Yiqing Luo frowned slightly, not understanding what the so-called God's Guard Team represented. Old Man Sung's voice came from her mind. God's Guard Team is the highest-ranked army in the God realm. No matter if it's in the Earth realm or Heaven realm, they are equivalent to a legendary existence. Belonged to God realm? Which meant that these people were from the God realm? People from the God realm came to the Earth realm? How could this be possible? But the 10 people in front of her were emitting power and aura. Even those large powerhouses in the Heaven realm were as tiny as ants in front of them. People who could possess such power and power. Would they impersonate the God realm's guard team? They are real. Old Man Sung continued. The aura on them is indeed from the God realm. Yiqing Luo's expression turned solemn. Isn't it said that there is no one left in the God realm? Which means to say that there hasn't been any activity in the God realm for hundreds of years. Why would they appear here with such great fanfare? She paused for a moment as her heart suddenly trembled. Could it be that the God realm and the Palace of Gloom have reached some secret deal? The mastermind of the Palace of Gloom is from the God realm. If he really has that ability and is related to the God realm's guard team, then he wouldn't have been hiding in the dark for such a long time. And it's impossible for him to start plotting from Nirvana realm. Hearing Old Man Sung's words, Yiqing Luo suddenly had a guess. Yesterday on the battlefield, the mastermind of the Palace of Gloom made use of Gu Jingyu's body to exchange blows with me. I feel that the opponent's ability isn't particularly strong, at least not as strong as Xian. The person behind the scenes of the Palace of Darkness is actually increasing his strength step by step, right? Therefore, I started from the lower realms of the Nirvana realm. As my strength grew, I slowly gained control of the Heaven realm, and then, the God realm. Old Man Sung replied very straightforwardly, the God realm is impossible. The God realm is not as simple as you think it is. Yiqing Luo's gaze once again fell onto those 10 men team with majestic imposing manner. Then tell me. These people openly came to the Earth boundary. What are they trying to do? Let's wait and see. Old Man Sung pondered for a moment. If the Divine Guardian Squad really wants to do something, none of us can stop them. While the two were talking, the captain of the Divine Guardian Squad, Ru Ju, swept his gaze across the crowd. Finally, his line of sight stopped at a certain place. A group of people walked straight ahead. Almost instinctively, the people around him moved aside and made way for him. Until the 10-man team stopped at the World Group side. The iron-armored tough guys God's Guardian Squad's solemn gaze slowly fell onto Yiqing Luo. That gaze was bone-chilling. It was impossible to tell what he was feeling. The surroundings were in complete silence. Yiqing Luo and the God's Guardian Squad's eyes met for a moment. She realized that the God's Guardian Squad's target was her. Yiqing Luo. Suddenly, she felt a little flustered. TXT 2016 website, over 100,000, mobile phone can directly download TXT 2016. Chapter 47-49. The surrounding crowd's breathing started to congeal. Pairs of different expressions looked at the strange scene in front of them. Why did all of them run over to look for Yiqing Luo? Hell Palace was. Today, the God Realm's God Guardian Squad actually came to look for Yiqing Luo? Was it a good thing? Or a bad thing? Everyone's hearts were complicated as they held their breaths and stared at the God Guardian Squad, waiting for them to state their intention. Until the God Guardian Squad walked towards Yiqing Luo in an orderly manner. Their breathing seemed to have stopped. Silence for a moment. The young lady dressed in red slowly curled her pink lips as her long and narrow eyes curved as she spoke in a tranquil voice. Everyone, what's the matter? There wasn't much emotion in the young lady's voice. Totally not, because the other party was from the God Realm's God Guardian squad, so she didn't fawn or fear them. As though she was facing ordinary people. Extremely calm and indifferent. The God Guardian squad's captain could tell the calmness in the young lady's tone. There wasn't any trace of fear or panic on the young lady's alluring face. A meaningful look gradually appeared in his sharp eyes. You, Yi-Ching Luo. When the God Guardian squad's captain opened his mouth, it brought along endless pressure. It made the entire banquet seem to be shrouded by 1,000 catty huge rock. Everyone instantly felt stuffy. The brothers in the world group all turned pale as they sat on their seats, unable to straighten their backs. This was the prestige of a strong practitioner. Yi-Ching Luo's gaze swept past everyone in the world group. Her long and narrow eyes overflowed with a chilly intent. She tapped her fair fingers lightly on the table. A "pa" sound was heard. It broke the strange silence. The young lady slowly stood up. Her posture was languid and relaxed. Her blazing red robe was like a dazzling flame. Her cold and charming eyes stared straight at the 10 people in front of her. She enunciated each word coldly. Since all of you are from the God Realm and have such status, why do you have to deliberately show off your strength in such a small place like the Earth domain? The young lady's actions and the words she said were already considered as audacious. It made the surrounding crowd couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Wasn't Imperial Madam too daring? The God Guardian squad actually dared to slam the table and berate them. Wasn't she afraid that the God Guardian squad would slap her to death? No matter how powerful the Imperial Madam was. If he encountered someone from the divine world, wouldn't he still have to obediently admit defeat? The Heaven Realm's people who had been berated by Yi-Ching Luo earlier couldn't help but laugh out loud. You really think you're somebody? She was arrogant in front of us because we owed her a favor and didn't want to bother with a woman like her. But, that's the God World's God Guardian squad. The God Guardian squad's captain apparently didn't expect Yi-Ching Luo to be so daring. Looking at Yi-Ching Luo's gaze, it was filled with different emotions. Just as those people from Heaven Realm were prepared to see Yi-Ching Luo become a joke, to see how the people from God Realm would trample on Yi-Ching Luo. The 10 members of the Divine Guardian squad actually withdrew their auras. Following that, he looked at Yi-Ching Luo expressionlessly and said word by word, "There's a letter for you here." The captain of the Divine Guardian squad waved his hand. A letter landed in front of Yi-Ching Luo. The golden envelope floated in the air. The girl slowly reached out and caught the envelope. The 10 men from the Divine Guardian squad stood silently by the side, waiting for Yi-Ching Luo to read the letter. As the 10 men from the Divine Guardian squad withdrew their auras, everyone's pale faces gradually turned for the better. The Heaven Realm's people who sneered suddenly turned red. They looked at the Divine Guardian squad in disbelief. Chapter 4750. He was slapped in the face again and again. Those people from the Heaven Realm were all dumbfounded. It was one thing for Hell Palace to express their goodwill towards Yi-Ching Luo. Why was it that the High and Mighty God Realm's God Guardian squad didn't get angry at Yi-Ching Luo's provocation? Instead they obeyed her words. This is no longer in line with the noble and elegant persona of the God Realm. But he had to admit it. When Yi-Ching Luo stood up and faced those 10 awe-inspiring and dignified God Guard squad. Not the slightest bit inferior, nor was the slightest bit of light suppressed, still shining brightly, comparable to the stars. Automatically refreshes at 6 a.m. 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 Woman from the witchcraft family's expression changed slightly, but her tone was still rather gentle. Young Miss Meow, if your friend has any conflicts with the witchcraft family, the witchcraft family will take responsibility. She paused and continued, but right now, these 2 people are people who were expelled from the witchcraft family, and now they are related to the culprit behind the war between the 2 worlds, so, no. Miao Xianxian shook her head persistently. Everything. Wait for Sister Qing Luo to come back and tell her yourself. Witchcraft family. An unfriendly voice came from behind Miao Xianxian. A woman in a light blue dress gently placed her slender hand on Miao Xuanxuan's shoulder and pulled both Miao Xianxian and Wu Che behind her. The woman looked gentle and harmless. However, her bright eyes were domineering and unreasonable. Does the witchcraft aristocratic family think that this matter can be resolved so easily? Miao Xianxian glanced at the woman beside her. She knew that this woman was called Yan Xiaoyi. He was a member of Sister Qing Luo's mercenary group and had a good relationship with her. Even if they hadn't interacted much in the past. Perhaps they knew each other from their previous lives. Miao Xianxian was not disgusted by the intimacy of a woman. The witchcraft aristocratic family frowned slightly. Miss, what do you mean? Yan Xiaoyi scoffed lightly. This grandmother and granddaughter pair, they have done so many atrocious things with the palace of gloomy darkness. If you take them away just like that, how are you going to explain to those profound practitioners who died because of them? The woman's voice was clearly not loud. His tone was full of questions. His aura was very oppressive. Also, Yan Xiaoyi's gaze darkened slightly. His eyes seemed to be covered with a thick layer of coldness. During the battle between the heaven and earth world this time, Elder Wu had used the forbidden witchcraft goo to refine the witchcraft goo worms, injuring many cultivators and our brothers in the world group. When the regiment commander was so young, he was poisoned with the heart-devouring goo. He had become a puppet of the Palace of Darkness, standing on the opposite side of them. And Zi Qing. Just now, Zi Qing nearly injured the world group's brothers. All of this was because of Elder Wu. What qualifications did the people of the witchcraft family have to snatch people from their hands? When Yan Xiaoyi looked up again, the corners of her mouth curled into a mocking sneer. So, since the people from the Wu Gu family have acknowledged the identity of Elder Wu and Wu Gu, then don't you intend to clean up the mess they created? Not only there the world group. There were also quite a number of witchcraft gu that had already scurried towards the cities in the Earth domain. Apart from the Miaogu aristocratic family, only the witchcraft aristocratic family could help. End of this chapter. Viewing the starting lineup. Zoe Shin CHAPTR section. Please arrive. Tang Ku agent, mobile address. Chapter 4751. From the attitude of the Divine Guardian Squad. There shouldn't be any ulterior motive for Yi Qing Luo to go to the God realm. There would definitely be benefits if she went to the heaven realm. But the direction of the invitation. Yi Qing Luo's face was solemn as she shook her head, not going. The captain of the Divine Guardian Squad had not expected that someone would reject the invitation of the acting God Emperor. To the people from the lower realm. It was a great honor. Many people had exhausted their blood, sweat, and tears, but were not even qualified to go to the God realm to take a look. This young lady was personally invited by the acting God Emperor. Instead, she was rejected. This was probably the first time since ancient times. The captain of the Divine Guardian Squad was stunned for a moment before he regained his senses and spoke in a cold voice. Yi Qing Luo, this letter is a sign of respect from the acting God Emperor. I am not asking for your approval but just informing you. The captain's voice had obviously raised by a lot. Yi Qing Luo frowned slightly as she squinted her long and narrow eyes, looking at him with a smile yet not a smile. Her fair hands gently pushed the crowd in front of her aside. She slowly walked out from between the seats. That fiery red dress was like a blooming rose. Bright and moving, unparalleled. It further accentuated the young girl's devastatingly beautiful face and added a bit of soul-stirring charm. The young lady crossed her arms in front of her chest as she slightly raised her head, revealing her beautiful and slender neck. She gave a smile which didn't look like a smile. Are you threatening me? No, I'm just telling the truth. The captain's voice was cold. If you don't obey, we can only offend you. The Divine Guardian Squad from the God realm. Even if it was just a few simple sentences. There was a suffocating sense of oppression in them. Yiqing Luo raised her slender brows as her long and narrow eyes revealed a hint of ridicule. Indeed simple and crude, don't tell me the God realm uses this kind of method? The young lady's tone was filled with ridicule. The captain's expression didn't change. In the God realm, ability is the right to speak. If you have the ability, you can choose to resist. The meaning of his words. If they were to take action, they would absolutely not show any mercy. Anyway, she could resist however she wanted. Their aim was to complete the mission. Yiqing Luo's gaze was fixed on the Divine Guardian squad for a long time. Suddenly, he chuckled. In an instant, all the colors in the surroundings paled in comparison. Resist? There are 10 of you. If I were to resist, wouldn't I be asking for trouble? Yiqing Luo laughed lightly as she put down her hands that were wrapped around his waist. Even if she resisted, she could resist. But there were so many people present. It would be easy to implicate them. Especially the brothers of the world group. I'll go with you to the God world. As soon as the girl's voice fell, the world group cried out in shock, Qing Luo? Madam Qing Luo? I don't even know why I invited you. Why are you going? What if God Realm is also collaborating with Secluded Palace, and intentionally baited you? Yan Xiaoyi pulled Yiqing Luo's arm. You're not allowed to go. A mere Tenyu Palace is nothing in the eyes of the acting God Emperor. The captain of the God Guardian squad glanced at Yan Xiaoyi and said expressionlessly, we cannot judge the thoughts of the acting God Emperor. In any case, I can't go. Yan Xiaoyi stared at the guard captain as she directly stretched out her hands and hugged Yiqing Luo. Let's wait for the overlord to come back first, let's not go anywhere now. Looking at the young lady's worried eyes, Yiqing Luo's expression turned gentler. She patted lightly on Yan Xiaoyi's hand which was hugging her. If the acting God Emperor wants to do anything to me, it's merely a matter of moving his fingers. There's no need to take such a big detour. Latest update, no pop-up window, please. Chapter 4752. In front of the people of the heaven and earth realms, he invited the Divine Guardian squad of the immortal realm to welcome him personally. No matter what, it was impossible for them to deliberately target her. What was the reason? He had to make a trip there to find out. Yiqing Luo was indeed not worried that the God realm was playing some tricks in the dark. The divine world was the divine world. It was precisely because the God world was mysterious and powerful that people yearned for it. It could be said, if these 10 members of the Divine Guardian squad were to make a move, they could completely defeat the representatives of all the factions from the heaven and earth realms. The immortal world was just that powerful. Even with her current strength. He used his full strength. He was afraid that he would only be able to fight the Divine Guardian squad captain to a draw. One could only imagine just how powerful was the God realm. So, if he wanted to deal with a young girl from the lower realm like her, there was no need to beat around the bush. Yiqing Luo looked at the guard captain. Before this, can I have some private time to say goodbye to my brothers? After a moment of silence, the captain of the Divine Guardian squad nodded expressionlessly. Okay. Thank you. Yiqing Luo pulled Yan Xiaoyi's hand and returned to the world group's position. She didn't say much. He only reminded them to pay attention to the situation of the Palace of Darkness and the Witchcraft family. He could not let Wu Che off so easily. At the very least, he wanted the Witchcraft aristocratic family to hand over the method to cure Long Yunzhan's poison, as well as the method to help Tong Ziqing recover. It was extremely fast. Gu Jingyu did not notice at all. He was forced to raise his head. The 5 slender white fingers on his neck emitted a piercing cold aura. The young girl's hand gradually tightened. She did not have the slightest intention of being soft-hearted. Gu Jingyu's expression changed. This body belongs to Gu Jingyu. If you kill me, Gu Jingyu won't live either. Yiqing Luo gave a cold laugh as her pink lips twitched. When did I say that I wanted to kill you? Gu Jingyu stiffened. The young lady chuckled and continued, I'm sure that the barbaric Blood King will be able to find the brook spring through you, and from there, find the real you. After hiding behind the scenes for so long, it's time to come out and bask in the sun. The force on the neck of Gu Jingyu made his handsome face scrunch up in pain. The young girl's words shocked him. Gu Jingyu's eyebrows moved slightly. Mysterious Qi rippled in his dark eyes. He seemed to have thought of something, and his expression became calm once more. An expression that the girl was familiar with suddenly appeared on his handsome face. Gentle like the wind, elegant and modest. When he opened his mouth, it was a familiar and gentle voice, Yiqing Luo. That familiar tone, and that gentle expression. In front of Yiqing Luo's eyes, in a trance, seemed to have seen the scene not too long ago, when she was poisoned by the mysterious fragrance due to the effects of the dragon cloud witchcraft goo. The man who was as gentle as the wind had always been by her side taking care of her. For a moment, he was dazed. It was at this moment. The corners of Gu Jingyu's mouth curled into a cold arc. By the time Yiqing Luo reacted, a wisp of thick black evil qi sprang out from Gu Jingyu's body. Immediately, Gu Jingyu's body became heavy as he fell onto Yiqing Luo's body. The evil qi quickly disappeared into the forest. Chapter 47-53. The crowd stared blankly at Yiqing Luo and the God Guardian squad disappearing into the horizon. Suddenly, they heard an anxious voice. "Where's Qing Luo?" A tall figure walked over in quick steps. That cold face bore a tinge of anxiety and worry. His gaze looked around, searching for Yiqing Luo's figure. "Sir Bone Sovereign." The World Group's brothers immediately called out when they heard the person's voice. Blood Bone Savage King's gaze congealed as his face turned slightly pale. This god had just felt energy from God Realm. What's going on? Where's Qing Luo? Yan Xiao Yi and Xiao Jin exchanged glances as she explained what had happened earlier in a concise and comprehensive manner. The more Blood Bone Savage King heard, the colder his expression became. A pair of cold eyes slowly squinted. It was filled with an eerie chill. When he heard that Yiqing Luo and the God Guardian squad had left, Blood Bone Savage King's fist suddenly clenched tightly. This god is going to God Realm to look for her. Bone Sovereign. You're going to God Realm? The crowd went into a slight blank when they heard that. God Realm wasn't a place where one could just go. If the Overlord returns, tell him about today's matter and ask him to rush over to God Realm immediately. Blood Bone Savage King's eyes sunk. This god is worried. God Realm is in danger. It was a memory from the God world. Blood Bone Savage King still couldn't understand who was the mastermind behind all this. Feng Gu was the emperor of God Emperors. But someone had set his eyes on Feng Gu and attempted to snatch Feng Ji's daughter, Qing Luo. If Feng Gu hadn't found out the reason for that incident. Once Yiqing Luo reached God Realm, that face which was 80% similar to Feng Gu, it would definitely attract the attention of the person in the dark. Thinking of this, Blood Bone Savage King's expression turned colder and colder. Feng Gu had handed Qing Luo over to him because she trusted him. He must protect Feng Ji's daughter on her behalf. Yiqing Luo totally didn't know how she came to God Realm. She only knew that when she stood beside the God Guardian squad's leader and stepped into that huge hole which seemed as though it was torn in midair. A dazzling light made her eyes turn black. Following that, she lost consciousness. When she opened her eyes, he was already lying on a soft bed. The surroundings were suffused with a calming incense. She sat up abruptly. He moved his body but did not feel any discomfort. His profound strength and spirit power were not affected much either. However, she noticed that there was an ice-cold jade pendant hanging around her neck. She raised her hand to remove the jade pendant. Old Man Sung's voice resounded in her mind. "Girl, don't touch the jade pendant. That jade pendant is used to protect you." "Protect me? What the hell? This is the God world." The profound jade heart in your body is especially sensitive to the spiritual energy of the God world. If you're unable to control the profound heart jade, it's very possible that the profound heart jade will desperately absorb the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth. When Yiqing Luo heard that, she was slightly stunned. In other words, if she could not control the divine phoenix profound heart jade properly, she will explode and die from absorbing too much spiritual energy. This is also the reason why you fainted the moment you entered God realm. Old man Sung explained, because your body cannot take such a burden. He continued, this jade pendant can suppress the agitation of your profound heart jade. It should be the acting God Emperor who realized this and specially prepared it for you. Yiqing Luo touched the jade pendant. She immediately got up from the bed and surveyed the surroundings. Chapter 47-54. What entered his eyes was a tasteful and elegantly decorated room. Furthermore, with just a glance, one could tell that the items on display were priceless. God realm was indeed God realm. Even the guest's room was so well decorated. She walked out of the room. She discovered that there was no one guarding the door. The surroundings were silent. There was no one in sight. But after pushing the door open, the scenery in front of her made her eyes lit up. This was simply comparable to the Century Garden. Immortal aura curled up, verdant green grass, clusters of flowers. Yiqing Luo was stunned by the beautiful scenery in front of her. The way the God realm treated their guests was indeed very good. She walked slowly towards the cluster of flowers in front of her. Her good mood didn't last long. Under the sky full of beautiful scenery, Yiqing Luo faintly heard some noisy noises not far away. Was there anyone? She didn't see anyone when she woke up. Now she heard some voices. Yiqing Luo quickly walked towards the direction of the sound. In an exquisite pavilion amidst the cluster of flowers, 6 women seemed to be arguing about something. The women were young and beautiful, thin and plump, there were all kinds of types. Under the colorful flowers, the women were even more alluring. But it would be better if they could restrain the jealous expression on their faces. Yiqing Luo hadn't gotten close. The women there had already sensed someone's presence. Who's there? Not waiting for Yiqing Luo's reaction. Those women in the pavilion not far away had already arrived in front of her in a blink of an eye. Their speed was so fast. Even Yiqing Luo, who usually won with speed, couldn't help but be speechless. Who's there? Who dares to eavesdrop on us in the dark? The woman's voice was pleasant to the ear. As their gazes fell onto the young lady's face, a trace of shock flashed past their faces. The woman in front of them had exquisite features, as if it was meticulously sculpted. Her beauty was unparalleled and unparalleled. Especially that pair of long and narrow eyes, watery and lively. The arc at the corner of her eyes was so charming. Coupled with a blazing red dress, it made her look even more noble and beautiful. Just one look and one couldn't take their eyes off her. The women's hearts trembled, and a wary and uneasy expression appeared on their faces. Who are you? Suddenly, he was surrounded by 6 beauties. He even had a vigilant look on his face. Yiqing Luo deliberated for a moment. May I ask, what is this place? After hearing Yiqing Luo's question, the expressions on their faces changed unpredictably. The gaze he shot at Yiqing Luo was filled with jealousy. Yiqing Luo was dumbfounded. What did she do wrong? The 2 women exchanged glances. Instead of quarreling with each other, he put on an arrogant expression and sized up the young girl. He pretended to not care and said, "Little girl, no matter where you come from, now that you've entered our 100-flower garden, you have to follow the rules here." A 100-flower garden? Yiqing Luo was shocked. Did she come to the God realm's female branch? What's going on? She had been sold to a brothel by the Divine Guardian Squad? You're a newbie. No matter what, you have to respect the seniors, in other words, us older sisters as your leader. You can't monopolize your husband, do you understand? The women were still arrogantly lecturing him. The more Yiqing Luo heard, the stranger she felt. Why didn't she understand what these women were saying? They were obviously human words. Why did it sound so strange when she heard it? Yiqing Luo was still in a daze. The few women saw that she didn't speak for a long time. Chapter 47-55. Right. Couldn't understand. She really couldn't understand. Are you looking down on us? Another lady's expression sunk as her pretty face was filled with anger. Don't think that just because our husband brought you here, you are the most pampered by our husband. Which one of them who came to the 100-flower gardens back then wasn't their husband's beloved one when they first came? But in the end, didn't they all end up like us? You won't be complacent for long. The few ladies were blabbering non-stop. Noisy chatter. Which gave Yiqing Luo a rough understanding of some information. These people should be the harem group of someone in the god realm. And this place of hers was the harem garden. She appeared here and was treated as a new sweetheart by this bunch of ladies. This misunderstanding was a little too big. The carefree and relaxed mood after she opened her eyes had turned into black lines at this moment. Wait a minute. Why did the god guardian squad arrange her to be in this harem garden? Could it be that the god guardian squad had offered her to someone in the god realm? Or could it be actually someone in the god realm coveted her devastatingly beautiful looks, so he found an excuse to abduct her to the god realm, to become one of the members of the harem garden? Yiqing Luo was shocked by her own imagination. She coughed lightly as she looked at the few hostile beauties in front of her. That you seem to have misunderstood. But the few people in front of her seemed as though they couldn't hear her words. Their words were getting more and more unpleasant. It totally didn't sound like words that came out from a delicate beauty's mouth. Today, I must make you understand the rules of the 100-flower gardens. Suddenly, one of the cold and arrogant-looking ladies suddenly pounced towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was still in a daze. Suddenly, a swift and fierce palm wind came toward him. She was so shocked that she took a step back. A bam sound was heard. That palm hit empty air. The vibrating profound wave rippled in the air, giving off a crackling roar. What the hell? This time, he was serious. This cold and arrogant lady struck. The surrounding women all clapped and cheered. Sister Hongmei, that's how it should be. Teach this bitch a lesson. Let's see if she still dares to snatch our husband. You're taking advantage of your husband's doting on you to treat us elders with such disdain. You should be taught a lesson. The icily arrogant woman called Hongmei smirked coldly. The way she looked at Yiqing Luo was obviously filled with disdain and arrogance. Yiqing Luo felt that this group of harem groups were simply crazy. Could it be that all of them were fighting for his favor until they became mentally unstable? After she dodged that palm strike, Qing Cheng's expression froze slightly. She spoke again, I'm not that person's new sweetheart. No? Hongmei sneered. Little girl, don't be naive. The women who come here all think that they will be my husband's last. Yiqing Luo. I really am not. I don't even know the husband that you are talking about. Shut up. You didn't kneel 3 times, kowtow 9 times, and offer tea to us older sisters. Do you think you can call us husband? Hongmei's eyes turned cold, and she became even angrier. Following that, another fierce attack came down. The profound wave was swift and fierce, like a hot knife through butter, with a strong murderous intent. This woman wanted to kill her? Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk. She had taken a few steps back and explained that she was a newcomer and didn't want to make enemies in the god realm. After all, the god realm was different from other places. But this bunch of women in front of her were overbearing. Hongmei had originally thought that victory was within her grasp, but she had the intention of teasing the young girl, so she did not use her full strength. But when his opponent's aura soared, she came to her senses and wanted to counterattack. But he was met with a pair of long and narrow eyes. Unbeknownst to her, the young girl had approached her face. He was stunned for a moment. He felt a sharp pain in his chest. Hong Mei's pupils constricted, and she struck out with a backhand palm in an attempt to resist. However, the young girl mercilessly stepped on her wrist. In the next instant, her body seemed to be suppressed by a powerful force, and she was unable to move at all. Hong Mei sprawled on the ground in disbelief. She couldn't believe it. In the blink of an eye, the person on the ground was her? How could this be possible? The surrounding ladies' laughter also stopped abruptly at this moment. One by one, they looked at Yiqing Luo in shock. The shock wasn't that Yiqing Luo had the ability to hurt Hong Mei. But the shock was that Yiqing Luo dared to make a move in the 100-Flower Gardens. Do you know who she is? Quickly let go of Sister Hong Mei. A lady berated sternly. Chapter 47-57. I don't care who she is. Yiqing Luo's eyes were chilly, her narrow eyes were filled with an eerie chill. Your attitude towards me determines my attitude towards all of you. So what if she wanted to say something? Even grabbing her hand, trying to kill her? It was a threat to her life. Even if the Heavenly Emperor came, she would still beat her up. Are you looking for death? A newcomer dares to be so overbearing? The women's expressions turned ugly as they pointed at Yiqing Luo and started scolding. If you don't let go of Sister Hong Mei, don't blame us for being impolite. It formed a sharp contrast with their alluring looks. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as she gave them a glance with a smile which didn't look like a smile. You make it sound as though you are very polite now. At the same time she looked at them. Yiqing Luo was also considering their abilities. This was after all the God realm. It was the realm where the rumored God cultivators resided. Even if she had the confidence to protect herself. But, if she could not create trouble. She preferred to use a harmonious method to settle things. She would try not to make a move if she could. She could tell. Hong Mei should be the leader of this group of women. Making use of Hong Mei's arrogance and contempt to settle Hong Mei in the shortest time possible. The other women would have misgivings because they were unable to guess her ability. Anyway, she had the jade pendant that the God Guard squad gave her. Even if those women's profound grades were above her, they were unable to see through her ability. Yiqing Luo's plan was indeed not wrong. The women's expressions were extremely ugly, but looking at Hong Mei, who was being stepped on by the young lady, whether it was because they couldn't see through the young lady's ability or because they were worried about Hong Mei's life. They were indeed just threatening verbally. But no one dared to make a move. Hong Mei was also aware of this as she felt the foot stepping on her back increasing in strength as her face turned pale. If you don't let go of me, if my husband sees this, he will absolutely not let you off. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly. Call that whatever husband of yours out. Who do you think you are? Do you think that your husband is someone you can meet whenever you want to? Even though Hong Mei was in a sorry state, but the words she said were still very stubborn. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes curved as the smile on her lips deepened. Oh, then no one will be able to save you. She leaned forward slightly. Hong Mei only felt that the foot on her back was getting heavier and heavier. Then, something cold pressed against her skin. Out of the corner of her eyes, Hong Mei vaguely saw a sharp blade. Her delicate body suddenly tensed up. You dare? You can try and see if I dare to. Yiqing Luo's voice was very indifferent. If you dare to kill me, the acting Divine Emperor will not let you off. Hong Mei heard the indifference in the young girl's tone and immediately panicked. The acting Lord God Emperor is my uncle. You dare to treat me like this. The acting Lord God Emperor will definitely kill you. Acting Divine Emperor? Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows. This woman was actually the niece of the acting Divine Emperor? No wonder he was so arrogant. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled upwards. That's easy, get the acting God Emperor to come and see me. The acting God Emperor ordered someone to bring her to the God realm. But he inexplicably left her in the 100-Flower Gardens. Could it be that he wanted her to be like this bunch of women, to become a member of some man's harem? Who do you think you are? Is the acting Lord God Emperor someone you can meet whenever you want to? Hong Mei's heart was slightly shocked as she was shocked that the young lady actually had such a big tone. Chapter 47-58. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly, between her picturesque eyebrows. There was a cold domineering aura. Really? Then do you think, if I kill you, will the acting God Emperor appear for you? You dare? Hong Mei bared her teeth in anger. That beautiful face was distorted. She could tell that the young lady's words were not fake. This young lady was too arrogant. But what made Hong Mei's heart give birth to a feeling of horror was when she was being suppressed by the young lady, she was totally unable to struggle. As though her body was so stiff that she was unable to move. Hong Mei's heart sank, as her pupils suddenly widened. What did you do to me? She actually reacted to the abnormality in her body? This young lady, when did she do something? Yiqing Luo chuckled softly, her peerlessly beautiful face. This smile seemed to make the surrounding flowers lose their color, bright and beautiful. Don't worry, it's just to make you more obedient, of course. If you're not obedient. Her eyes congealed slightly, as her smile deepened a few degrees coldness. Then I'm sorry, you can only go and die. Hong Mei's body suddenly tensed up, the expression on her face was distorted and sinister. And at this moment, not far away, suddenly two men's voices were heard. Why did you put her in the 100-flower garden for? We are all women, what are you afraid of? There are so many women in your garden, if you put her in that place, won't she be swallowed alive? What are you afraid of? The women in my 100-flower garden are all gentle like water, naturally they will take good care of her. What kind of women in your garden, don't you have any idea? I just brought her to God Realm, and was hurriedly called away by you, so I can only casually put her in the 100-flower garden. Their voices were getting closer and closer. Very quickly, they saw two tall figures walking slowly in the midst of the flowers. There was also a voice, clearly heard, that young lady, entering this garden, is too pitiful. What if she runs out and bumps into your bunch of women? She will probably be swallowed until nothing is left. The word was forcibly choked in his throat. That man was dressed in a bamboo-colored long robe. The exquisite embroidery showed his nobility. The astonishment on the young man's face was obvious. He stared unblinkingly at the scene in front of him, unable to believe his eyes. Behind the man, another figure dressed in a flashy pink robe also walked over. You. Husband. The group of beautiful women swarmed towards that figure. Each and every one of their voices were soft and tender. The women threw themselves into the man's embrace and sobbed, Husband, you've come to seek justice for us. Don't cry, don't cry. When you cry, your husband's heart is broken. The man hugged the surrounding women and comforted them gently. Yiqing Luo, where the hell did this peacock come from? This was the first time she had seen a man wearing pink. Furthermore, it was the pinkish pink color. It was extremely coquettish. However, the man's androgynous face, coupled with the coquettish powder, did not look too feminine at all. Such a flirtatious peacock. No wonder he had such a harem. However, this man was really fickle. He clearly saw Hong Mei being trampled under his feet. Yet he could still use a gentle voice to appease the other women. And hugged them left and right, as if he could not see Hong Mei at all. Evaluation, scumbag. Chapter 47-59. Took in a harem with 3,000 beauties. He was indeed a scumbag. Yiqing Luo sized up the two men who suddenly appeared in front of her. They were also sizing up Yiqing Luo. The rosy pink man's gaze paused on Yiqing Luo's face for several breaths before his eyes lit up. Beauty. He speedily pushed the few people in his arms to one side as he gave a self-admitted flirtatious smile. You're Yiqing Luo. That gaze made Yiqing Luo had an impulse to beat someone up. She frowned. Who are you? What are you pretending to be silly for? Hong Mei, who was being stepped on, suddenly opened her mouth. That's our husband. Her tone revealed a sliver of complacency. Husband is here, you're dead meat. Saying that, she raised her head and looked at the man not too far away. Husband, save me. This slut wants to kill me. Finally, that rosy pink man shifted his gaze downwards, onto Hong Mei. His exquisite brows creased unabashedly. What are you doing? The rosy pink man's face sunk slightly. When Hong Mei saw that, she immediately cried even more grievously. Husband, this new slut, she poisoned me and even attempted to kill me. The rosy pink man, that pair of flirtatious eyes, looked towards Yiqing Luo. The women by the side chimed in. Husband, you don't know how arrogant this newcomer is. Not only did she not put us, this group of sisters, in her eyes, Sister Hong Mei only wanted to teach her the rules, but she. The women were all talking at once, pushing all the problems to Yiqing Luo. Hong Mei's eyes were misty with tears, as she cried quietly in grievance. She was very clear. Her husband couldn't stand a woman's tears. Yiqing Luo didn't bother about those women, no matter how they splashed dirty water on her, she couldn't be bothered to explain. She stared at the rosy pink man and frowned. You're the husband they're talking about. If little beauty wants to call me husband, I won't mind. The rosy pink man smiled as he opened his mouth. There was no trace of anger towards Yiqing Luo because of those women's words. The man next to him elbowed the flirtatious man in pink and glared at him with a warning look. What did you bring me to this place for? Yiqing Luo went straight to the point. The man in the pink robe was full of smiles. Beautiful scenery with beautiful women. However, compared to the beautiful scenery of the 100-flower gardens, this little beauty is even more beautiful. Yiqing Luo's foot, which was stepping on Hong Mei's back, suddenly exerted force. Hong Mei screamed in pain. The girl's eyes were clear and cold. Don't talk nonsense. Call the captain of the Divine Guardian Squad over. He had brought her to the God realm, but had inexplicably thrown her here. Another two baffling people had arrived. What the hell is this place? Where was the noble and unattainable image of the God realm? Disillusioned, okay? The flirtatious pink-colored man's gaze towards Yiqing Luo was filled with overflowing interest. The God's Guardian Squad has handed you over to me, so if you have any matters, just look for me. Yiqing Luo. Could she make a move and beat this peacock into submission first? The man dressed in bamboo on the side coughed lightly. Miss Yi, we don't have any ill intentions. Let go of Hong Mei first. Not letting go. She was afraid that if she let go of this foot, the next one would land on that flirtatious peacock. The man dressed in bamboo looked slightly more serious. Actually, we don't have any ill intentions. He continued, I'm the acting God Emperor's last disciple, Feng Changqing. This is my friend, and also one of the 3 kings in the God realm, Ji Wuhua, Flower King. Chapter 4760. A coquettish peacock was indeed a coquettish peacock. Even his name was so coquettish. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as her gaze fell onto Ji Wuhua. You said to look for you? Being stared at by that pair of seductive eyes of the beauty. Ji Wuhua's bewitching eyes were filled with splendor. That's right, it's me. Beauty, please look at me and tell me your request. He didn't wait for Yiqing Luo to open her mouth. The next sentence was blurted out. Even if you want the position of my official wife, and want me to disperse the flowers for you, I'm also willing. His eyes were burning, and his expression was as deep as the ocean. But there wasn't a single bit of sincerity in that tone. Apparently, this kind of words were often hung on his lips. But those few bewitching little flowers behind were struck by Ji Wuhua's words. Each of them called out, husband, in a tender manner as they shed tears of grievance. Whereas Hong Mei, who was stepped on the ground, had an incredulous expression in her eyes. She was stepped on by this slut, in such a wretched state. Her beloved husband didn't care about her at all, and was even infatuated with this slut. She was like a fool. Scram. Yi Qing Luo stared coldly at Ji Wuhua's androgynous face as she raised her hand. If you don't leave, I'll smash your dog head. Ji Wuhua was stunned on the spot. It was as if there had never been a woman who could show such a look of disgust under his affectionate confession. Moreover, the expression on her face didn't seem to be playing hard to get, or was it a joke? But really, if he didn't retreat further, she would really beat him up. This knowledge caused a trace of cold light to flash in the depths of Ji Wuhua's devilish eyes. The few women behind him were also astonished. There was actually someone who dared to be fierce to their husband. That slut, was she looking for death? But that slut was so fierce. Their husband definitely wouldn't like that slut. But their husband didn't have any intention of getting angry. Instead, he cooperated and shifted his feet backwards, pulling the distance between him and Yi Qing Luo. Bring me to see the acting god emperor. Yi Qing Luo looked at him as she said every single word clearly. It's not convenient for the acting divine emperor to meet guests now, Ji Wuhua replied. When the acting divine emperor summons you, I'll take you there. Oh. Yi Qing Luo replied indifferently. Ji Wuhua was still puzzled. Why was this girl so cooperative? The young lady's voice sounded again. Then send me back to the Earth realm. When the acting god emperor is free, come to the Earth realm to see me. Was he trying to take her down a notch? He had brought her all the way to the god realm. Now he stood her up again. Did he think that he was great just because he was the acting divine emperor? She was the daughter of the former divine emperor. 10,000 years ago, she could be considered as the heir to the throne of the divine emperor. Even the acting god emperor had to address her as great-grandmother when he saw her now. See or not? Who didn't know how to put on airs? The girl's words once again stunned the people in the garden. Ji Wuhua and Feng Zhangqing had not expected that this young girl, who looked a little fierce, would say such bold words. Let the acting god emperor meet her personally in the Earth realm? Although the acting god emperor hadn't officially inherited the divine emperor's throne, but in the hearts of the people in the god realm, the acting god emperor had long been the real god emperor. Usually, even if the acting god emperor asked them to wait for a day and a night, they would still wait quietly on the spot. Wasn't this young lady's tone too arrogant? Chapter 4761. As for the other beautiful ladies, as they stared at Yi Qing Luo, their eyes were filled with astonishment as they stood rooted to the ground. Did they hear it wrongly? This young lady was not their husband's new sweetheart, but a distinguished guest whom the acting god emperor wanted to meet? Moreover, this young lady's arrogance didn't even seem to be afraid of the acting god emperor. That was a kind of arrogance that emanated from her bones, a natural arrogance that didn't feel exaggerated at all. But what shocked them even more was, this young lady came from the Earth realm to the god realm. Even the heaven realm was like an ant that could be pinched to death with a flick of a finger. Not to mention the realm below the heaven realm. Even if they were a group of chess pieces that had been trained since young to please men and seek benefits for the family, any one of them would be able to fight against 100 in the lower realms. It was imaginable. The gap between the god realm and the lower realm. But this young lady came from the Earth realm, that lowly realm, to the god realm. A young lady from the Earth realm had stepped on their red plum boss. Someone from the Earth realm? Did they hear it wrongly, or did the young lady say it wrongly? Unbelievable. Totally unbelievable. But the next moment, Feng Zhangqing's words had confirmed the young lady's identity. Miss Yi, the passage between the Earth realm and the God realm can't be opened at will, and the distance between the two realms is very far. If the acting God Emperor is done with his work and wants to see you, he will have to go to the Earth realm to invite you. Going back and forth will delay your time, don't you think so? Yi Qing Luo crossed her arms in front of her chest, her eyes were lazy and indifferent. I'm also very busy, all right? Only the acting God Emperor is busy and I'm not allowed to be busy. Miss Yi, the acting God Emperor doesn't mean to make things difficult for you. Feng Zhangqing's thin lips were tightly pursed as his handsome face revealed traces of helplessness. Don't beat around the bush. Ji Wuhua pushed Feng Zhangqing away and smiled like a peacock. Beauty, you really can't blame the acting god emperor. You can only blame yourself. Yiqing Luo raised her brows and looked at Ji Wuhua with an expression that said, continue to make up stories, I'll listen quietly to your story. Ji Wuhua made an oath. Yesterday, the acting divine emperor postponed all matters and waited for you to discuss the war between the heaven and earth realm. However, we neglected the fact that you have just entered the divine world, and you are not used to the spiritual energy of the divine world, causing you to lose consciousness. The acting divine emperor couldn't bear to wake you up, so he let you rest for a day. So, this was her fault? Seeing that the girl's expression was still indifferent, Ji Wuhua said sincerely, everything I said is true. Yiqing Luo squinted at his raised 3 fingers. Your god realm also plays this kind of oath trick? Wasn't the oath meant for God to see? Weren't the people of the god realm gods? Ji Wuhua said matter-of-factly, because you women love this kind of trick the most. Yiqing Luo. Sorry, I don't like it. However, Ji Wuhua's explanation was indeed reasonable. It was a fact that she had slept all day. How many days do I have to stay in the god realm? She asked. Ji Wuhua glanced at Feng Zhangqing and stopped him from speaking. Then he looked at Yiqing Luo smilingly, not much, about 10 days to half a month. Yiqing Luo. Forget it, you'd better send me back to the earth realm. 10 days to half a month. Wait till she returned to the earth realm. The daylilies were already cold. There were still a lot of matters in the earth realm waiting for her to settle. Chapter 4762. Feng Zhangqing pressed his hand on Ji Wuhua's shoulder and pulled him behind him. Don't listen to his nonsense. When the acting divine emperor is done with his business, he will see you. It will take at least a few hours, and at most a day or 2. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Then I shall reluctantly agree to it. She could still accept this time. At most, he would just treat it as a day trip to the god realm. In any case, he was someone who had been to the god realm. She could brag about this for years in the lower realm. Yiqing Luo's gaze swept past those ladies who were in a daze and suddenly thought of something, but I have a condition. Speak. Feng Zhangqing nodded. Yiqing Luo took a look at Ji Wuhua and then looked at the person under her feet. I don't live in 100-flower gardens. What's wrong with this place? Ji Wuhua was unhappy. This is my proudest design. The environment is good and the scenery is beautiful. Why don't you stay here? Yiqing Luo spat out a few words in a lukewarm manner, not good in any way. Feng Zhangqing coughed lightly and said, Miss Yi, forgive me for not being able to agree to this condition. Don't tell me the god realm only has one place to entertain foreign guests. Yiqing Luo frowned and raised her delicate chin. Feng Zhangqing sighed softly. The fact that Miss Yi has come to the god world is a secret to the outside world. If others in the god world find out that a person from a lower world has come to the god world, I'm afraid those stubborn old fogies of the god world who think themselves to be virtuous will not let this matter rest. Yiqing Luo. So she was a stowaway. Do I have to hide in the god realm and wait for the acting god emperor to summon me? Wasn't this a little too aggrieved? In the entire god realm, Wuhua's territory is the safest. Otherwise, Wuhua wouldn't have sent you here in the first place. Feng Zhangqing continued to explain, but at most one day, Miss Yi, please bear with it for the time being. Yiqing Luo. I can't take it anymore. This place was the flower peacock's harem garden. Who knew how many imperial concubines were in this garden? If she stays here any longer, every 2 to 4 hours, he would have to fight with his harem team. She was not in the mood to explain again and again that there was no relationship between her and Ji Wuhua. He was too lazy to explain. Most importantly, putting her together with this peacock to create a scandal? That would lower his status, all right? She was ugly. But, the very last. Yiqing Luo still compromised. Because Ji Wuhua was too annoying. It was so annoying that she couldn't help but want to strangle this peacock to death. Yiqing Luo directly stuffed Hong Mei into Ji Wuhua's arms, gagging his mouth. Then, he turned around and left. Beauty, what are you? Before the dumbfounded Ji Wuhua could finish his words, Yiqing Luo had already shut her room's door with a pa sound. All over his body, he sent out a message. My mood is exploding, don't bother me. Ji Wuhua was blocked outside the door. He stared blankly at Feng Changqing and said, Changqing, have I become uglier? Isn't it tempting enough? As he spoke, he touched his face full of worry. Feng Zhangqing didn't even bother to look at him. It's done. Let's go. This was the first time Ji Wuhua had suffered a setback. He cried dejectedly, I don't believe that my face has lost its limits. I'm a man who relies on his face to make a living. Ji Wuhua turned around abruptly, looking at those few charming and enchanting imperial concubines. The corner of his mouth immediately revealed an incomparably demonic smile. Ladies, did you miss me? Chapter 4763. That smile caused the originally frightened beauties to blush, and their mouths began to emit sweet moans. One by one, they flew toward Ji Wuhua. Husband, we missed you so much. You haven't come to see us for a long time. Husband, the sisters have been waiting for you. Do you want to stay in the 100 Garden today? Husband, several charming women swarmed toward Ji Wuhua. No one paid any attention to Hong Mei, who was lying on the ground with a face full of resentment. All of them painstakingly moved closer to Ji Wuhua. He wanted to make Ji Wuhua stay. Ji Wuhua contentedly regained his pride as a peacock in front of this group of women. He waved his hand and said, Changqing and I still have some matters to attend to. You guys stay in the 100-flower garden. He paused for a moment before continuing, as for Miss Yi just now, if you don't have any urgent matters, don't go to the east courtyard to disturb her. Yes. The women were somewhat reluctant, but they did not dare to force Ji Wuhua to stay, so they obediently lowered their eyes and responded. Feng Zhangqing glanced at Hong Mei on the ground and said, Send Miss Hong Mei back to her courtyard and find someone to give her a good look. The women, yes. The 100-flower garden fell into silence again. The news that a woman, who was not Ji Wuhua's new lover, had come to the 100 Garden and moved into the 100 Garden had spread like wildfire. Especially when they heard that the new girl had beaten up their boss, Hong Mei, until he was bedridden. He was very curious about the new girl. But due to Ji Wuhua's orders, no one dared to approach the east courtyard to get close to the new girl. They could only discuss and guess the other party's identity. Whereas at this moment, Yiqing Luo, who was being discussed by everyone, was cooped up in her room, feeling extremely bored. Judging from Feng Changqing's words just now, he probably wouldn't give her the chance to go out for a stroll. After all, she was a stowaway. If someone from the other god realms were to find out, that would be troublesome. It was rare for him to come to the immortal world. He would be trapped in the god realm for a few more hours. He could only stay in this 100-flower garden. Yiqing Luo expressed her innermost feelings. There was nothing to do. Yiqing Luo might as well regulate the profound energy within her body. He couldn't possibly come here for nothing and spend his days in a daze, right? This was the god realm. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the divine world was abundant and pure. It was a good place for cultivation. Yiqing Luo closed her eyes and entered a meditative state. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth within the 100-flower garden began to gather in her direction. He meditated for about 2 hours. Yiqing Luo suddenly felt a gust of extremely strong spiritual chi, coming from a certain direction, swiftly sweeping over. Yiqing Luo was reminded by Old Man Song. He reacted in time. He retracted his aura. When she opened her eyes, she saw that her room was filled with a large amount of pure and powerful spiritual energy of heaven and earth. However, it was too powerful. If he absorbed it by force, her body might not be able to withstand such a load. Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly as she felt that something was strange. Why was there suddenly so much spiritual energy? Furthermore, it had suddenly appeared. That heaven and earth qi is somewhat familiar. Old Man Song's puzzled voice rang out in Yiqing Luo's mind. Familiar? I have a feeling that I have sensed this kind of aura somewhere before. Old Man Song couldn't recall the specific details. He could only vaguely feel that it was familiar. Yiqing Luo slid down from the bed. Let's go over and take a look and you will know. This is the God realm, you must be careful in everything. Old Man Song reminded. Chapter 47-64. Yiqing Luo headed towards the direction where the heaven and earth spiritual qi was surging from. That aura was extremely dense. It seemed to fill the entire courtyard. Yiqing Luo searched for a while. Only then did he confirm that the spiritual energy came from the bookshelf in her room. Based on experience. She fumbled on the bookshelf for a long time. Only then did he find a mechanism. The bookshelf suddenly moved to the side. A deep, pitch-black hole was hidden behind a bookshelf. A long flight of stairs spiraled into the darkness. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. This is a secret room? The secret room in the 100 Garden? She didn't expect that the room she was staying in was actually a completely different world. Strangely, she even found out about it. Logically speaking, Ji Wuhua knew that there was a secret room in this room. They shouldn't let an outsider like her stay here, right? He was too confident in himself. Or was he looking down on her, thinking that she wouldn't be able to detect it? The moment the bookshelf moved over. Compared to before, the profound waves were even more intense. It was as if it wanted to drown her completely. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes slightly. Girl, don't be impulsive. Old Man Song had some misgivings. This is the God realm. The secret room in the God realm is too dangerous. Yiqing Luo's expression was grave, as though she was pondering over something. Hearing Old Man Song's words, she smiled. I know. She looked deeply at the passage. But, since the acting Divine Emperor wants to see me and Ji Wuhua arranged for me to be in this passage, he should be sure of my safety. She pursed her lips slightly. I'll go in and take a look. If there's any danger, I'll use the teleportation secret technique to leave this place. Old Man Song was very clear that once Yiqing Luo had decided on something, it would not be easily changed. In the end, he could only sigh and say, be careful. In the pitch-black cave, one couldn't even see their own fingers. The air was still a little damp. It was cold and gloomy. Yiqing Luo didn't take out the luminous pearl for illumination. Just like that, he walked forward in the darkness. Walking in the tunnel, Yiqing Luo was almost certain that no one had stepped into this tunnel for a very long time. Because when he stepped into the middle section of the tunnel, it was a flat passageway. The smell of lamp oil could be smelled all around. Moreover, it had been a long time. Following the passageway, they made many turns. Other than the unpleasant smell, there was no danger in the tunnel. The further they went, the fluctuation of the spiritual qi of heaven and earth became stronger and denser. Then, he felt a gust of wind blowing in front of him. It was the end. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and looked towards the direction where the wind was blowing. Not long after, he saw a ray of clear light shooting over. Following the light, he saw an exit that could accommodate one person. Yiqing Luo wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, he stood at the exit and looked outside vigilantly. After confirming that there was no one around, he quietly crawled out from the exit. This exit was built behind a group of artificial mountains. Yiqing Luo's surroundings were not only surrounded by 3 to 4 fake mountains, but also in the middle of a huge lake. There was water in all directions. Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings. She did not know where she was. Or perhaps it was somewhere in the 100-flower garden. He only knew that this place had a beautiful environment and was extremely luxurious and rich. These artificial mountains were all carved from the finest jade, and could almost be mistaken for the real thing. Clusters of flowers, lush and lush. This kind of beautiful scenery was not something that could be formed overnight. After Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings and confirmed that there was no one else around, she took a deep breath and leaped up from behind the artificial mountains. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.